Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be talking about this new docu-series, Quiet on Set: The Dark Side of Kids TV. Now this series takes a really disturbing look into memorable kids shows from the late 90s and 2000s, specifically Nickelodeon shows, and they're all produced by this one problematic producer, Dan Schneider. So Dan is the mastermind behind Nickelodeon's most notable sitcoms such as All That, Kenan and Kel, The Amanda Show, Zoe 101, iCarly, Victorious, and more. And because Dan Schneider was obviously the Nickelodeon moneymaker, he had a lot of power and felt like he could treat people however he wanted to. Ultimately, this led to a toxic work environment with a lot of sexism, racism, and just being dismissive of blatant predators around young children on set. So taking it back to the very beginning, Dan's first hit show was All That, and this is when workers started to notice his problematic tendencies. So a cast member, Katrina Johnson, remembers Dan telling her how he chose her, she's special, she's gonna be this huge star, and he even acted as her mentor and said he's thinking about creating the Katrina Show. But then Amanda Bynes stepped in. And of course, Amanda becomes the new favorite, and he gave the show idea to Amanda, creating the Amanda Show. And it's just weird how Dan latched on to certain kids, all while treating the others like they were disposable. Another cast member, Brian Hearn, recalls feeling uncomfortable on numerous sketches on All That, specifically one where he plays a character named Captain Big Nose, and first of all, that costume just looks like a walking stereotype. And Brian felt very, very uncomfortable in that costume because it literally looked like male private parts on his face. And Brian was also a part of this one sketch where it alluded to him being a drug dealer, and that's when his mom really started speaking up about her son's mistreatment, and that eventually got him kicked off of the show. And the woman who helped Dan write for the Amanda Show said that it was a very inappropriate work environment. There would be numerous times where they went into his office to talk to him or pitch an idea, and then he'd show them adult content on his computer screen as if it's supposed to be funny. Mind you, he's in a workplace where there are children around. And it's also weird that he would specifically ask for his female writers to massage him as a way of really showing off his power dynamic and essentially degrading them. He even named an Amanda Show character after an inappropriate body part, so it's no wonder that a man as sick as him would have predators working on set at Nickelodeon. So one of the main predators that the docuseries highlights is a guy named Brian Peck, who was a dialogue coach and worked with kids on set every day, and even had some scenes and All That as a character named Pickle Boy. And once again, we see Dan Schneider's weird humor because the pickle is a very phallic-like symbol. And it's crazy because I remember being young and watching episodes of All That and seeing the Pickle Boy character, but it just never occurred to me until watching the docuseries what the pickle is actually supposed to represent. Another weird detail to note is the fact that Brian invited the Nickelodeon kids and their parents over to his house one day and was showing off his pen pal collection with John Wayne Gacy. Yes, the serial killer who tortured numerous young men and boys. And it's just so upsetting because all the signs were there that this man is a blatant weirdo. I mean, who keeps a shrine of letters and signed pictures from a serial killer? And I'm absolutely going to blame the parents for this because who sees this type of stuff and just brushes it under the rug? Their thinking skills should have been activated and realized this is not a safe environment for my kid to be in. And then 7 months later, Brian was arrested for SA with a child star, and this star turned out to be Drake Bell. And I just feel so bad for him because all of this stuff could have been prevented if the adults around him were more vigilant. And then what's even crazier is the fact that Brian was only sentenced to 16 months in prison, had to register as an offender, and then was able to work on Disney Channel on the show Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. Like, were background checks not a thing? Because I know they were. But going back to Dan being a weirdo, the content he put out on his kids' shows were very adult humor coded, and it's like, is this for kids? Because who is this content really for?
I'm thirsty! It's not possible! Come on! Give up the juice!
And Dan Schneider also had this really weird foot infatuation where various characters on his shows would just do random things with their feet. And people on Twitter dug up a tweet from 2013 from the Salmon Cat Twitter page, one of Dan's shows, asking people to write stuff on their feet and use a hashtag to get noticed. Mind you, most of the people sending in photos were kids. And then at one point, Nickelodeon's logo was a foot, so it's just all very strange and weird and creepy. And former iCarly star Jeanette McCurdy recalls Dan taking pictures of her in a bikini, massaging her, and pressuring her to drink, all while being underage. And I'm so glad that all of these child stars now as adults are being able to finally tell their stories, because this man really needs to be held accountable. And I did see Dan sit down and do an interview with the guy who played Tebow from iCarly, which number one I think is very strategic because Tebow was obviously a fan favorite. So I guess this kind of makes Dan look like a good person. Like, oh, if Tebow liked Dan, then we should like Dan. But honestly, save your time watching that apology video because it was complete BS. It's sad that these kids would come to set every day and were unprotected and failed by the adults around them, surrounded by predators, and now they have trauma that they're struggling to get rid of. And Dan really needs to apologize to every single person individually. And Lord knows what Amanda Bynes has been through. I mean, her whole appearance and the way she just did a complete 180 is very strange, and I hope everyone a part of the documentary is getting the help that they need. But once again, thank you guys for making it to the end of my video. Don't be afraid to get the conversation started in the comments. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next vid.